Life isn't what it used to be 10 years ago. Constant challenges pop up, and to be honest, it can be draining. And then there's anhedonia, which can stop us all from having a taste of the good life. And you probably haven't even heard of it before. So I started thinking, what if happiness in midlife isn't something that just happens to you like it does in your 20s and 30s, but instead you've actually got to work at it? Well, if that's you, then it sounds like you're very much like me. And you might need a happiness project. That's something I'm choosing to do to get a little bit of the good life back. Let me tell you how it all started. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, things should feel better than they do? So why is that? So many things happen in midlife, so maybe happiness isn't something we can find all at once. Maybe it's something that we have to rebuild bit by bit, one experiment at a time. Instead of education, career, retirement, it's education, career, reinvention. But occasionally it can feel a bit flat, and I think I've discovered why that might be. Something strange happens in midlife that nobody talks about, and it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. That spark we once had seems to dim a little. Not sad or depressed, but maybe as if something's missing. Something's gone, a slight feeling of emptiness. Less of a really good life and more of a meh. And a strange feeling that life should be better than it actually is. Even if, on the outside, life looks quite good. For me, I first noticed it when I stood by the sea. It used to make me so happy, but suddenly I just didn't feel that anymore. And I started wondering why. That's what I love about the sea. It has a great way of reminding us of what's important. So if you've been wondering about what makes a good life, what might be stopping you from getting one, and what you can do about it, I've discovered something that might help you get your spark back. What if the problem isn't your life, but it's actually something that's switched up here, and it just needs switching back? And the solution is actually quite simple. I'm still figuring it out, and I'm really hoping that you've got some tips that you can give me along the way. So welcome to my little midlife happiness project, where I'm going to try a number of experiments to try and get my spark back. I don't have all the answers, but I'm definitely enjoying the search, and I hope you do too. I'm Sarah, a stroke survivor in my mid-50s, and in an attempt to remind myself that midlife is worth living, with an empty nest, aging parents, lost loved ones, crazy hormones, too much work and not a lot of fun, I've decided to start my own personal happiness project. I may have a head full of grey, but my Gen X wisdom is telling me not to tap out just yet. Instead, I can cruise along in the slow lane just for a while. And I'd love you to join me. I'm not good at this yet, but I really want to be. And you know, life is just full of stuff like that. It feels vulnerable to admit not only a lack of skill, but a deep desire to have something that seems out of reach. Maybe I had it once, but somehow over the years, life has kicked me around a bit, and I'm left wondering what happened. The key is that everything we want is on the other side of trying, which is difficult when there's a comfort zone in the way. And when we're worried about looking selfish for even dreaming of a bit more happiness, it can feel very uncomfortable. But maybe it's time to explore what makes a happy midlife and put a bit of effort into trying. After all, what have we got to lose? Some say that inside every one of us there's a fire waiting to be lit. But what if you feel like someone's just thrown water on your logs and kindling, and your matches are damp and don't work anymore? So your fire just won't start like it used to. And so it surprised the heck out of me when I stumbled on a newspaper article that talks about something that might be the problem. I'd never heard of it before. And while I don't think self-diagnosis is a good idea, don't do that. Always speak to a professional. I do think it's important to do your own research, because when you go down that path, it's surprising what else you discover. And after all, this and this belongs to me, and I'm in charge of what happens to it. So have you heard of anhedonia? No, I hadn't either. So I did some research, and I was chatting with a friend, and she said, that actually sounds like something that I'm going through too. So it got me thinking, maybe I'm not the only one. First, I decided to talk to Dr. Google, and this is what I found. So anhedonia is a Greek word. An means without, hedon means pleasure, so without pleasure. So you've probably heard of someone who is hedonistic, which is all about someone who is desperate to pursue pleasure all of the time. This is kind of the opposite. Somebody who isn't in that way of thinking, they have a reduced ability to experience pleasure. This is to do with the reward center of the brain and dopamine and all that kind of good stuff. And it's very complicated. I'm not a professional. After the research I've done, I've realized this is a temporary thing. It can be caused by lots of different things. One thing that can cause it is trauma. So that's relevant for me. In 2009, I had a stroke. I was made redundant. I had 2 babies at the time. More recently, I've got sick family. I had sick friends. I've lost friends. And it seems like all the responsibilities are piling up and up and up. And I kind of feel like there's no escape from it, that it seems to have made everything a little bit flat. Some people might say it's even the beginning of a midlife crisis, but I don't see a midlife crisis as a negative thing. I see it as a midlife opportunity, an opportunity to maybe assess how we're feeling in ourselves and what we want to do next to make ourselves feel better. Maybe there is that emptiness that's happening, it's on the horizon, or, it's already happened for you. But it's about thinking, what can I then add in my life to replace the thing that I'm losing? So it's about thinking about this in a different way. Rather than a loss, it's about, okay, what can I do next? What is the thing that I can do next? Psychologists agree that the worst thing you can do is to stop doing what once gave you joy. And that is part of the problem, that anhedonia stops you feeling joy. Therefore, you stop doing those things. You start sitting on the sofa and watching television, or not going out, not socializing with friends, not doing the hobbies that you used to do. It might also be that you've decided not to exercise anymore. You haven't got your social connections so much. Your routines are different. Your hobbies and everything else that you used to do for fun, suddenly you're not doing those anymore. You're saying no to people when they're asking you to go out instead of saying yes. My grandmother always used to say to me, always say yes, because if you start saying no, they'll stop asking. And I think that's really good advice. But I started wondering if I'd stopped doing some of those things for fun. There's always an excuse, isn't there? My job's too busy. I've got too many things to do. I need to go shopping. The dog's not very well. She needs a walk. And suddenly, like a slowly boiled frog, you don't realise what's happening until it's too late. Yeah, I'm a frog. And this is why I've been thinking about starting my own happiness project. So actively taking steps to find the joy in life again in midlife. So this might just be smelling the flowers, growing my own food, being in nature more often, doing stuff that I really want to do, visiting really special places that really interest me. So I have a great interest in mystical places and things that are very ancient. And I'd really like to do more of that stuff. If it's one thing that I have learned, it is that life is very, very short. And rather than thinking about that in a negative way of saying, oh, I'm at the end of my life, it's about actually thinking, what can I do? What can I fit in? Life is short. I've lost people. I've lost family. I've lost friends. It's easy to get into some kind of catastrophic thinking. I do that regularly, especially when it comes to a diet. You eat that first biscuit and then you think, well, what's the point in me dieting anymore? I may as well just eat the whole packet. That is catastrophic thinking. And it's about saying, okay, let's not catastrophize this. Let's look at what we can do differently and try and make it better. Thinking about what it is for me that makes a good life is my step one. So everyone is different. So it will be different for you than it is for me. And it's about thinking, what do I need to do to get a good life back? And for some people, it might be to buy stuff or do stuff that costs money. But for me, it's about experiences. It's not about stuff. And I believe that you don't actually need to spend silly amounts of money to have these amazing experiences in life. And that right there is my happiness project. So if you want to follow along and find out what I'm doing to try to grab back a little bit of the good life in my midlife, and maybe to be inspired to do a bit of your own hunting for your own good life, then I'd really love you to follow along. So subscribe so you don't miss out any of my adventures.
So after much head scratching and procrastination, I decided that these were the actions I'm personally going to take. It's all about little steps that will hopefully help me enjoy more of my life in midlife.
Let's face it, life's a journey. They're all experiments. We don't know what's going to work and what's not. The only way we're going to find that out is to try it out, to measure, to test, see what works, and then do more of the good stuff. And that's what I intend to do.
We only have one life, so it'd be a shame not to enjoy the ride. But then, in my usual Gen X way, with my typical midlife low confidence, I started questioning if I'm late to the party, and if you already knew this. So have you heard of anhedonia before? What else don't I know?
I want to hear your ideas, and maybe we could try out a few together.
Here's the thing. We rise by lifting each other, and that's why YouTube is now part of my happiness project. But my channel is tiny, with only a damp matchbox full of glorious subscribers. It was a difficult decision putting myself here, because I've been half-heartedly playing around with it for ages. Bit of a hobby, let's say, because I really like creating stuff. But I've finally decided to knuckle down and take it seriously, so I've really pushed the button.
I did it!
I also love to go live, and when your channel is as small as mine, YouTube only lets 25 people on plus subs. So if you'd like to join me on the beach occasionally, then you're going to need to subscribe so you have permission to join in. And I'd love you to join, partly because it might help you,
But mainly because I'm scared of being Billy No Mates. You know what? Click all the buttons. Subscribe, listen to this other video, look at this other video, and all the other stuff that all the professionals say.
I'd love to see you next time. Ta-da!